Hi, this is From Ideology to Unity. So I had an idea and I just felt like, sharing it kind of on the spur of the moment. So what it essentially is so you might be aware of the idea that the mind will resonate with certain frequencies or give off certain frequencies, essentially. That if it's fear, that there'll be a fear-based frequency. If it's love, there'll be a love-based frequency. If it's joy, there'll be a joy-based frequency, and so forth. That emotions and feelings, maybe thoughts, that these are energetic frequencies, essentially. And what does the third eye do? Perhaps what the third eye does is, to the extent that it's open, it syncs up with resonance. Your mental, the energetic frequency in your mind, to all the possibilities that are associated with that frequency. And depending on the nature of the frequency in your mind, the more active the third eye is, the more that will sync up all those possibilities in your mind. And so if you have your third eye opened and you've got a open heart completely, you'll come up with all these, your mind will be synced up to all these possibilities and energies that are of that match that frequency of love, right? But what happens if the third eye is opened before the heart is opened, or to more of an extent than the heart is opened? Then what happens is, in other words, what happens if the inner work hasn't been done? Which is an oversimplification, because another way of putting it is, what's the relationship between the degree of inner work and heart opening that has occurred and the result of third eye opening? Which is to say that what I'm getting at here is, if you have only done a certain amount of inner work, but you've opened your eye, the third eye, but suppose, let's simplify it, someone's done no inner work, but they opened their third eye by some means, right? And what that will do is they'll have lots of fear frequency inside of them. Fear, shame, guilt, and so forth. Anger, right. They'll have those sort of frequencies prevalent in their mind because they won't have done the inner work to transmute that or let go of that. And the third eye will be connecting them to loads of possibilities connected or synergizing with the frequencies in their mind and body, which will cause paranoia, right? And I've realized that's what paranoia is. And when someone has an open third eye, but they're in love, obviously they'll come up with lots of possibilities. They'll connect to lots of possibilities and energies that are very positive. And if you're not in love, then you'll connect to the negative ones. That's the result, right? We already know that, but the third eye will make that quicker and will heighten the sensitivity of the connection, if that makes sense. It's like an antenna and a projector at the same time. It's a two-way, it's like an antenna that increases your connection between, or like a computer connection, a digital, internet connection, right? Don't worry about the phone then. I don't need to do all that right now. It increases the connection. So if you haven't done enough inner work, what happens with the people? They haven't done their inner work. They open their third eye, and then suddenly they've got to come up with all these really fear-based worldviews, perhaps, or possibilities, and perhaps this is why it happens, because of it's matching. It's just doing its thing. It's just doing what the third eye does. It's just matching what's in your mind. So you need to make sure that what's in your mind is sorted first. It's in work, right? I've experienced some degree of paranoia, and I think that's what I was going through. The more adults I've been doing inner work, that's been clearing up a bit. I haven't been having so much paranoia. And that seems to be the case as to why. There are some that have a very negative spiritual community, that have a very negative view, or they talk about a very negative portrayal about the nature of our reality. And they talk about things like, it's a prison planet, stuff like that. And it's very negative. It's very fear-based, in my opinion. And I think many of them believe this. Now, you could speculate about some people spreading fear-based narratives based on a service of self agenda, but that's speculative. It certainly suits, I would say it suits that kind of frequency because it's fear-based. But I imagine what has happened with a lot of these people is they're in spirituality, they've opened a third eye. They haven't opened the heart, or at least not fully. The inner work hasn't been done. And maybe they've taken hallucinogenics and they've connected to these possibilities of reality and its nature that are terrifying, and yet they've taken that as a black pill of reality. Now, you don't need to pick. It's like there's a choice of different red pills and black pills or whatever. And it's like, what is actually truly right or wrong? Any of these legitimately could be said to be real. It's kind of a choice. The choice is usually to you in terms of what you resonate with and how you want to see it. So they take a black pill, and that doesn't mean it's true or false or whatever. It's a version of reality or a perception of reality. And so they go around telling people, it's all terrible, it's all like this and like that, but you need to accept that, because if you don't, terrible things will happen. Because they warn about what will happen if you go into the light when you die and stuff like that, right? Because here's the thing, the fear is so convincing because it says, yeah, you might be wrong and it might be okay, but if you're right and it really is that bad, wouldn't that be awful? Don't you want to hedge your bets and make sure it's okay? But that's rationalization. The truth is, you don't know one way or the other, maybe you could have faith and surrender to the process, but fear says, but that thing, it's really bad. And you might be afraid of flying because you don't want to imagine it crashing, right? What's the chance of it crashing? Very low. But fear will say, but if it does crash, you'll die, right? So that's that's how insidious fear is. You know what I mean? So this is helped me understand, I think, those who are into spirituality but have a fear-based message, maybe empathize with them a bit more, because I've experienced paranoia, and I think I understand what's going on. They're not just it's easy to be like, they're wrong, they don't get it. I can explain to them how it really is. That's what they're resonating with at the moment. Maybe they'll resonate with something else in the future as they do in the work. Maybe they won't do in the work, and that'll stay their perspective, remain their perspective. I don't know. It's all as it needs to be in the divine order. I'm coming to understand that more and more with things that I feel resistance to or reaction to, that it's happening for a reason, and I need to keep reminding myself of that. And that's something I suggest about you as well. Yeah. Even as a thought, I could have shaved properly before I did this, and then I was like, it doesn't matter. Anyway, so without further ado, have a great day and bye for now, I guess.